this is the country where darts are played at an extremely high level, and if you want to make anywhere in the game, you got to take on these boys on their own turf. You know what I mean? Like, and for me to do that and win that trophy and then for it to disappear is a crying shame, absolute crying shame.
Hi there and welcome to this edition of Tungsten Talk, where we speak to some of the biggest personalities in the world of darts about their life and career. And delighted to say that alongside us today we've got a former world master, John O'Shea. Matthew Edgar's also here. He's going to be chipping in with a few of his own experiences and questions for John as well. Welcome along, John.
Thanks very much.
Really pleased to have you here and find out a little bit more about you as a player, as a person. But let's start there, really, the big moment of prominence, probably the best time in your career, potentially followed by the worst time, and we'll come on to that, but the 2019 World Masters, just tell us your memories of that.
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever forget them. They'll last forever, I think. You know, when I went over, we had agreed that it was our final hurrah. We were going to call it a day. So I took the kids with me, and little did I know what was going to unfold that week. Like,
you can't cheat destiny, can you?
No, you can't. You know, the universe throws you a bone, you got to take it. You know, and I ran with it. I really enjoyed myself that week, you know, with all the shenanigans that had went on, as you know, with the draws and stuff like that. Like, you know, I just took it in my stride and just carried on with whatever was being dealt with me, like, you know. So I that'll go down in my books as probably the greatest thing I've ever achieved, you know.
Well, Matt, you were a keen observer of everything that's going on in the world of darts. Certainly were when that happened 5 years ago. Just give us a kind of background of where things were with the BDO and WDF, and then he said the word shenanigans. There's a lot of mistakes happening at that time, wasn't there?
There was, and it was sort of a finger-pointing exercise, really, wasn't it? One was blaming one, the other was blaming the other, and everyone would just sat around pointing fingers at each other, and no one was really taking responsibility and grabbing the bull by the horns and guiding that ship, which ultimately has a lot of history and longevity and a lot of prestige, which is why the WDF's been able to pick up on that and continue and still have a tour that thousands of people are travelling to represent and try and get those sort of opportunities. And it was coming up to the end of an era, wasn't it? It was certainly, the BDO was sort of getting to its last legs, and those titles will be known now as the last ones within that era.
Did that decision for it to be your kind of swan song probably help you not get involved in all that drama?
100%. It didn't matter to me whether if the whole building had exploded. To me, it didn't matter, because we had made a decision, myself and Laura, that was it. The time had come. We had done. I had got to the quarterfinals 3 years previous at Lakeside, and I said to myself, you know, that's still a good achievement, get to quarterfinals for World Masters, but to go back 3 years later and win it from the floor, when it was my last hurrah, I was like, no matter what happened that day, it didn't deter me from just trying to enjoy what was going to unfold for me. And at the time, I didn't know what was going to unfold, to be fair. You know, I just took every game and I can remember it like it was yesterday. Nobody had darts to beat me. I went from the floor right to the final, and no one actually had darts to put me out of the tournament.
Just for viewers that might not sort of know about that tournament, a lot of people are pretty new to darts that may be watching now. Just explain what you mean when you say won it from the floor. Well,
the way it was run, I think it changed a few times over the years, didn't it? Where the top 32 in the world would only come into the tournament at the last 64 stage. So when I won it, it was open from the word go. If you were the number one seed, you played on the floor and you went all the way. And if you went all the way, that's fair play. They changed it where when I played in it in 2019, it was won from the floor, whereas the draw was done, the seeds were in, and everybody, there was nobody like exempt. I think I'm not 100% sure. I could be correct on this. I don't know, was it 32 or the top 16 the world were brought in at the TV stages, whereas this time it wasn't. Yeah. So if you were the number one seed and you drew me that year, obviously because I won it, you lost. You know, that's the way it worked. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, very difficult tournament and prestigious tournament to win, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it comes down to the broadcast. That event was a broadcasted event, and when you're going on to live TV, the thing you've got to do is you've got to make sure that the person at home, the people sat watching, they know who they're going to see. They recognise the likes of Martin Adams, who would have been around during that period of time. And that's what they want to see. And ultimately, then, as a non-seeded player, by qualifying for that, you've got your story. Can this person beat Martin Adams, a 3-time world champion? And you don't get those stories when it's an open field with 256, 512 players, because a lot of the time those players will go out on those floor events and you could end up with a lot of people that the viewer at home doesn't quite recognise, and then it becomes quite hard to sell that story when it's here's an underdog versus an underdog, the winner of that plays a qualifier. It gets a bit tricky then to try and really promote that event. So it was one of those really horrible situations that as an organiser you've got to try and balance, because you've got ultimately hundreds of players that want a fair crack at it, but also you've got to balance that TV broadcasting deal.
Yeah.
Talk us through the winning moment and getting your hands on the trophy for the first time. We'll talk more about the trophy in a moment, but tell us about actually lifting it and being announced as a champion.
I thought I was after blowing it, because I do remember I had 95 left, and in my head I knew what I was supposed to do, but halfway through that I decided I'd change it up. So I went for the 25 for 20 bull, just to make sure I had a shot to win the title. And I hit the 25, and I switched it to triple 10 and hit it. I had a shot at tops to win the title, but like, my shot was, the reason I went for 25 was 25-20 bull, like just to give myself a shot. And I remember some of the videos, like people were in the audience and they were like, "What has he done?" You know. So yeah, Scott missed 2 darts at a double, I think. And yeah, when the opportunity came, I just said to myself, with 3 darts in my hand, double 10, to probably go down in history now, I suppose. You know, I'll always be remembered as a World Master. Unfortunately, I'll probably remember for the mess that followed as well. But to be one, look, in my country, like, I mean, darts is originated here. This is where you need to be playing your game, like, you know what I mean? And for me to win that title with the names that were on it, it was just even now, 5-6 years on, like it's still fresh. It's still, believe me, it's still fresh. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I can't complain. To be fair, it was just one of those moments. And once it's done and you hit it, you realise what you're after doing. It's like just time passes you by. Like no later than an hour, we say later, I was back in the hotel room talking to Laura saying, "What have I just done? We were supposed to pack it in."
Well, that's what I was going to ask you next, because at that point, an hour later, you're having that conversation. Are you still thinking, well, I am going to pack it in, I'm going to go out on a high? When did you start actually thinking,
I tell you now,
keep playing?
I tell you the story, and it was short and sweet. The 2 kids had passed out because the emotions that went through those 2, because they were really young at the time, like, you know. And we were sitting at the end of the bed, and I said to Laura, I said, what do we do now? I said, we were going to call it a day. And she says, we limp on. We keep going. You know, we have the money now to fund another few events, and we'll keep going and see how we get on. And I said, I won a tour card after that then, you know. So the crazy train keeps going, you know. I don't think it's ever going to stop. You know, even last night, even performing last night, I felt, I was saying to myself, this is a crazy roundabout. I need to get off this roundabout, like, you know. But I can't, I don't know how to.
Well, you know that feeling well, don't you? Sort of deciding to stop, then struggling to stop, and then getting that hunger again. It must be a real sort of mindset of turmoil, deciding what to do.
Yeah, I've been trying to stop playing for about 2 years now, and every time there's just another battle to have, and you think, well, I can't do that, but I can do that, and I can do that. And one of the biggest issues you have as a solo sportsman is knowing when to switch it off and how to switch it off, regardless of what limitations you may have. In your mind, regardless of what your body tells you, your mind will tell you something different. You know, I still think I can go play football. You know, I'm signing up to football teams, and I can go do that. You know, age and my body won't allow me to do it, but in my mind I can. And that's one of the hardest things to have to deal with, and especially when you get given hope, or in this case, a big title that is career-defining for pretty much everybody who's won that title. It's a big thing on the CV. Like John said, everywhere he goes, it will now come up, that tag at the bottom of the screen, World Masters Champion.
What came next was maybe made that moment bittersweet, didn't it? Do you just want to talk us through the whole debacle? The BDO kind of winds up, doesn't it? You're in possession of the trophy. Just give us your version of it.
There was just so much. I don't think we have enough time, but there's going to be a day I'm going to sit down with somebody and I'm going to tell all, because it's not what people think. It was nasty. It had management involved. It had the people that were running, I'm not even going to mention their names, we know who we're on about. It just got so messy, and all I wanted to do as a dart lover was provide the next winner with that trophy. The minute I hand up that trophy, it disappears, and it proved it in the end when I got a court order I was on a pro tour in Barnsley when I got a message saying that I never showed up in court. I never got the court date, let's say. And there's just so much people don't understand what happened behind the scenes. And it tore everybody apart, like. You know what I mean? Like, and people don't understand what happened, and people point the finger and they say, no, to be fair to the darting world, they all agreed with me that it was in good hands, that if I held on to it until such time. But I was giving it back to an organisation that no longer existed. So who am I giving it back to? This was the argument, right? And social media had taken part in this argument. And it was just so much. I was getting solicitors' letters, I was getting threatening letter. The next time I land on a pro in the UK for a pro tour, I was going to be met by the police. All this, like, and this all played on my mind, like, and it took massive effect on the second year on my tour card, because I had a really good first year. I was up around the 60 mark on my first year, which was pretty good. I had qualified for the Players' Championships and Ali Pally and everything. And I was hoping to kick on, and it's just someone just threw a grenade in amongst the whole lot of it, you know. But I think now is the time, maybe now, if the story comes out, because I think that the right story needs to come out now.
Well, maybe at some point we'll have time to sit down and maybe tell that story.
100%.
Is there anything that you want to ask John specifically about that time?
I can't imagine what it's actually like, because I played on the professional circuit, of course, and what you need when you do that, to be away from home, to be in that, is a clear mindset. And you've sort of alluded to there that it actually affected and eked into your time away, and when you was sort of travelling and out and about, was it something that sort of you couldn't shake out your mind even when you was in the arena?
I'll be honest with you, when I got the email, I had my phone on me and I was practicing with Josh and Rob, and I got the email and I looked at the email and I said, I'm supposed to be in court this morning for that trophy. You know, and the judge ruled against it because I never showed up in court. But like I said, I never got the details of anything, because there was just so much of a mess between management that were supposed to dealing with it, that couldn't be arsed dealing with it, and felt that it was no longer their problem. I didn't want to fight in the first place. You know what I mean? I was quite happy. Like, if someone had said to me, like, I know for a fact that trophy was behind the stage. They couldn't give Lisa her trophy the same time because it would have looked bad. Gave Lisa hers, they didn't give me mine because apparently changing sponsors or whatever. But the trophies were behind the stage. And if they had just taken the photographs with the trophy and said, well, you can't take it, well, I don't think you could take that trophy anyway. I don't think it ever left the UK. Even years ago when Michael Van Gerwen won it, when Phil Taylor won it, when you know, it never left the UK. So I was shocked when it arrived in Killarney 3 weeks later. Don't get me wrong, just to hold the trophy, look at the names. I had it for so long, and I looked at, you know, I've done my homework on it, like, you know what I mean? Like, the names on it is exceptional. It's the who's who of darts. And come on, a little old nobody from Cork, like from south of Ireland, puts my name on the biggest trophy in world darts. It was running 2 years before a world championship. So we say, it was in 1974, who was the first winner of that, was the world champion.
Yeah.
Because there was no world title at the time, and that was it. Like, and to be named with Bristow and all them, I know these boys are exceptional, but for me, like I said, someone from my island to do something like that, be the first Irishman to win a TV major, mate, that just went down like a bomb. Like it literally, like it was just so big. But unfortunately, what happened next? COVID hit, and then everyone forgot about that.
You're speaking really passionately about that
loved
event
it, yeah.
and about that trophy.
Yeah.
So what does it feel like when you've had to hand it back and you see it go on an auction site?
I was disgusted. I was disgusted for the way it was handled. That trophy deserved to go to the next winner. I think Wesley Plaisure won it after me when COVID was lifted and stuff like that. I think, I'm not 100% sure. And I know the WDF had their own World Masters, but that trophy should have been given to him. And then it should have been given to whoever won it after him again. You know, the thing is, right, that trophy should have not disappeared. We don't know who have it. I've rumours that someone bought it in Holland. I don't know that. You know what I mean? Like, but we'll never see it again. It's sitting on someone's trophy cabinet at home, and it's never going to be played for again. And it's such a shame, like, because look, you call a spade a spade. This is where it originated. Darts. This is the country where darts are played at an extremely high level, and if you want to make anywhere in the game, you got to take on these boys on their own turf. You know what I mean? Like, and for me to do that and win that trophy and then for it to disappear is a crying shame. Absolute crying shame.
Absolutely, and as you say, this could be its own talk just on that subject. And
there's so much I could tell. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm not sure. I probably get a solicitor's letter in the morning if I mention someone's name, but I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
The bottom line is the truth. If the truth bothers you, then you're caught. You know what I mean? Like, but I could name and shame, and what happened and the messages I've never got deleted anything. I have everything. I could write a book on it.
Well, look, next time you're back, let's sit down and prepare, speak to solicitors, we'll talk about that, but I don't want to sort of go through this whole conversation about you taking the gloss off what's been a really good career, first winning that tournament, but what you've gone on to achieve since as well by that, because a lot of people do remember that. But you mentioned it, you went on then to get a PDC Tour card, you had a really good first year, and you've got a bit of a reputation as well now as a really good player because of that World Masters win, and of course that's how you want to be remembered. How did you find your time as a PDC Tour card holder?
I felt I held my own, and even now I feel I can hold my own. But I'm just, like, I'm 50 now this year, so like these young boys here, like, they can go for hours on end, like, you know what I mean? And I still feel I have something to give back to the game. I'd like my tour card back. I got close to, back in January just recently. I played really well over the week. But I feel if I got it one more time back just to go out on my terms, does that make sense?
What would going out on your terms mean?
Well, if I lost my tour card after 2 years, I would probably put up my hand and say, you know, the game has gone to a different level. It is, like, there's no two ways about it. The game, the Luke Lickler effect. You see these boys in the Premier League, they're losing 110 averages, you know what I mean? Like, and I can no longer put in that 5, 6, 7, 8 hours that I used to be able to do. I still throw, but I could throw like for 10 minutes and stop and look at what's happening on the television and then go back to throwing again. That's the kind it is. Like, I have a new little thing going out at the moment to try and help the kids and stuff, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, so that's my new branch, coaching and mentoring. I'm doing a PDEPA course. I'm sure you heard of it. They're starting in Derby in March.
Yeah, that's something that you're involved in as well, isn't it? It's something that dart players kind of never had before, somewhere else to go. You're involved in coaching, commentary, punditry. It's a good move, isn't it, for John to get involved in something like that, especially with all the youth sort of playing the game now after Luke Littler.
Yeah, there's a lot that a coach can really offer to a player, and this is what we're starting to learn a lot now within the way that the sport is going. I think a lot of people traditionally think coaching is purely just a technical thing, but actually there is so much more that can go alongside rather than just looking at someone throwing darts. The way to practice, how to practice properly, how to practice with progression, how to sustain progression, mentorship. What's it like What's the real darts world like? Because everyone wants to be a professional dart player, but I guarantee when you have a taste of it, you don't love it as much as you think you're going to.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that can be passed on through life experience, but also through knowledge, through the educational courses and systems that are available in order to find progression for these younger players. And the biggest thing that people struggle with, and it's the most common thing I have to deal with on a regular basis. People that say, I play well in practice, why don't I play well in a game? There's a reason for that. There is an answer to that question. And people come a lot for finding the answer to that. But there's this misconception that all you're going to do is, how do you stand, how do you throw the dart, how do you do this?
Yeah.
And there's obviously a bit of a reluctancy to it as well, because everyone does. Everyone's got their own sort of like individualities with darts. And I heard a very good phrase, and I love it, and I've used it ever since, where they said, it's not about looking at the things that people do differently, it's about looking at the things that people do the same. And everybody's throw is different, but there are factors in it that are the same in every single player. It's about making sure you've got those fundamentals.
In terms of actually playing darts then now, what would be success for you? For example, what would it mean to you to win a title here at the MODUS Super Series?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge, like, because I'm one of those players that you really don't know what player is going to show up. We really don't know. Does John show up, or does the Crazy Joker show up? When the Crazy Joker shows up, I don't care, you know, but I do care. I like to think that I go in there tonight, right? I've left myself really in a difficult position to pull this off tonight, right? But I love a challenge, right? So if the 4 players down there think that they're going to get it easy tonight, they're sadly mistaken, because I won't roll over for nobody, you know. So for me to even pull something like that out of the bag is an achievement in itself, you know. But there's so much around the game now that I can do at my age and still compete at a decent level. Like I said, I played in Q school and whatnot for a week, like, and I think I played 17 games and 14 of them were mid-90 averages, like, so that's still competing at a really decent level. But I got to do that all the time if you want to stay in the PDC. You got to do that. And I'm being realistic here. I gotta find now. I have to find a new John now, and what works for John. So competing here, competing on the ADC. Like, I've been here for over a week. I was in Aylesbury playing in the ADC. There was no point in going home, so I come down here Monday, Tuesday, and I'm here since I go back Sunday. That's time away. Valentine's night, my wife, my young boy's birthday was Wednesday. You know, I miss a lot of things, like, you know what I mean, like. But they know in my house that this is what Dad does, like, this is what I do, like, you know. And if I can win something to give them something nice in return, then it's all worth it. The lows are low, but the highs are really good, like, you know.
Absolutely. Just thinking about what else could come. I mean, would you attempt to qualify for another WDF World Masters or World Championship?
I'm going to do everything this year. I'm going to go to Hungary. I was going to go last year. If it's in Hungary this year, I will go and compete in the World Masters. I still think I can win something big. And just like Matt said earlier on, like, in your head, if you spend 10 minutes in my head, you'll be wanting out straight away. Because I'm telling everybody and that I can still play this game at an extremely high level. My practice game tells me you shouldn't be packing in or on. And like Matt says, when you stand on the line and nothing happens, you're like, what the hell happened? What, you know? And I've made a fool out of myself because I've just told Laura on the phone, I'm playing really well. I did last night. I was inside the practice room. I went 180, 180, 43, 180, 180. I said, oh, practice is going really well. Stand on the stage, can't hit a thing. You know?
You're nodding like you know the feeling.
It's frustrating, but because I now have young kids coming to me, I have now a different way I approach things. I can't get frustrated because I'm telling them not to get frustrated. So they're all going to be watching me tonight, you know. And what is it? Practice what you preach. This is what I teach them, you know. There's more than teaching these guys how to play dart. It's everything else. Like I'm doing a course now as well in the health side of it, because Laura's a nurse. So I'm going into the mental health side of it as well. So we're going to, like, it's like a therapy darts. where guys can just come to me for an hour and have a chuck and have a chat and get whatever they have on their head out of their head, so they don't have to think about an illness they're going through, they don't have to think about a problem they're going through. Just chuck with me for an hour and we'll have a chat. If I can help those people, then I've brought darts to a completely different audience again.
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic, doesn't it, Matt? That kind of incentive and initiative for men to talk and throw darts, maybe improve with the help of John.
I think one of the biggest issues at the moment with mental health is certainly on the male side in regards to getting those sort of issues out and about. And I think what you're doing there is you're finding a way. What do men traditionally like? We like a game of darts, we like a pint down the pub.
Yeah.
So why are we pulling them out of an environment of which they feel comfortable to bring them into a sort of sedate environment where you're not going to feel comfortable? Take it into the environment. It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, admirable. Look, finally, I did want to ask you about the nickname. You mentioned the Crazy Joker before. Where did the Joker thing come from?
It was good few years. It was good few years ago. I was a traveller with Mickey Mansell and Brendan Dole and Willie O'Connor. My first stint on the PDC back in, 2008 maybe. Seems a long time ago now. When we had to pay 125 quid then to the Pro Tours that time. And I'd lost a stupid game, as I do. I've done that many, many times. And it was just Mickey. You know, why are you so serious? Like, you know, I don't even think it was the Joker saying at the time. I think it only came into the Joker saying later on in the years, you know. But I do remember Mickey saying to me, he says, it's only a game of darts. And I've adopted that. You know, it's only a game of darts. Nobody has died here. You know, yes, it can be very, very frustrating, but I get to play again tonight. And I get to play again next week. All next week, I've got guys calling to the house, you know, and it's great. It's great. It's something that I can now, like my whole life, I was worried about, am I going to play well next week when I go to Challenge Tour? Am I going to play well when I go to Q School? And then I have guys coming into me. I'll give you an example. I had a guy come into me last week, and I know he doesn't mind if I mention it. He's 24, he had 3 strokes, and he was just fix his game and chat with him, and what a lovely guy. And I said to myself, and you're worried about losing a game of darts? It just brings it all back into perspective. And Aaron, he was a lovely, lovely guy, and he'll call to me, and you know, just to see somebody else benefit from playing darts and having a chat and just take his mind off whatever he felt that was bothering him on that day.
Yeah, fantastic. Really admirable what you're doing now. Look, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. I think we need a 6-part series to go through the whole story.
There I could tell you stories.
But it sounds like there might be another blockbuster interview coming your way, so do stay tuned for that. But thanks so much, John. Thank you, Matt. That is John O'Shea's Tungsten Talk.